I died choking on my own blood in the back of that goddamn Lincoln Town car. The taste of betrayal sharper than the shards of glass from the shattered windshield. My brother's face, Ethan's face, loomed over me like a vulture's shadow. His lips curled in that same smug grin he'd worn since we were kids, whispering, "You were always the weak link, Eden." Family failure to the end. And then nothing. Blackness. Until the world slammed back into me like a freight train, my eyes snapping open to the sterile hum of a hospital room in 2015, my body 18 years old again. Heart pounding with the impossible truth. I'd been given a do-over. A second shot at the life he'd stolen from me. It hit me in waves. That first morning after the accident, I was Eden Hale, the overlooked middle son of the Hale dynasty, old money from Wall Street sharks and Silicon Valley pioneers. Our family estate sprawling across the hills of Greenwich, Connecticut, like a monument to American excess. Back then, in what was now my present, I was just starting my freshman year at Yale, buried in psych textbooks and keg parties, oblivious to the rot festering in our bloodline. Ethan, 3 years older and already interning at Dad's hedge fund, treated me like a punchline. Eden's the artist. He'd sneer at family dinners, ruffling my hair like I was still in diapers. While the rest of us build empires, Mom would laugh it off with her martini-slurred charm, Dad grunting approval from behind his Wall Street journal. But I knew, even then, it was a blade wrapped in velvet. The real knife came later or earlier, depending on how you slice the timeline. In my original life, I'd clawed my way up after Yale, landing a gig as a forensic accountant for one of Dad's competitors. Boring? Hell yes. But it paid the bills and kept me out of the family circus. That's when I stumbled on it, the Hale Fund's dirty little secret. Embezzlement. Not small potatoes. Hundreds of millions siphoned into offshore accounts, laundered through shell companies in the Caymans. And the architect? Ethan. My big brother, the golden boy, who'd rigged the books to fund his cocaine-fueled lifestyle and a string of mistresses that could fill a Hamptons guest house. I'd confronted him in his penthouse overlooking Central Park, the city lights twinkling like distant stars mocking my naivety. This ends now, Ethan. I'm going to the feds. His eyes had gone cold, that easy charm evaporating like morning fog. You think you're the hero. Little bro, you're nothing. Always have been. The next night, my car hydroplaned on a rain-slicked I-95, flipping into the guardrail at 80 miles an hour. The cops called it an accident, black ice, they said. But I saw Ethan's taillights vanishing into the storm just before impact. He didn't even stick around to ID the body. Now, back in this borrowed body, I lay in that Yale dorm bed, sweat-soaked sheets twisting around me like restraints. The clock on my nightstand reads 7:42 a.m., September 15th, 2015, the day before Ethan's engagement party to Lila Voss, the Ice Queen heiress from the Voss pharmaceutical empire. In my old life, that party had been the pinnacle of Hale-Voss merger dreams, sealing alliances worth billions. I'd shown up hungover, clapped Ethan on the back like the dutiful brother, and gotten blackout drunk to drown the family pressure. This time, I'd rewrite the script, starting with the truth Ethan had buried deeper than his conscience. I swung my legs over the bed, the dorm room spinning for a second, jet lag from hell, I guess, crossing a decade in a blink. My roommate, Jake, snored from the top bunk, oblivious to the ghost who'd just hijacked his suite mate. I grabbed my phone, fingers flying over the screen to pull up old emails I'd never deleted in my mind's eye. There it was, the first breadcrumb. An anonymous tip I'd received in my original timeline, forwarded from a whistleblower at the fund. Coordinates to a Cayman bank. Transaction IDs that screamed fraud. Back then, I'd ignored it as spam. Now, it was my loaded gun. By noon, I was on a train to Manhattan, the Hudson blurring past like a watercolor smear. Greenwich Station loomed, all manicured lawns and Range Rovers, but I bypassed the family estate. Straight to the city. Dad's office in the Hale Tower, 57 floors of glass and steel piercing the skyline like a middle finger to the proletariat. Security waved me through. I was still Eden Hale. The disappointment, after all. No pat-downs for the black sheep. Ethan's corner office was a shrine to excess, mahogany desk the size of a small yacht. Walls lined with signed baseballs from the '86 Mets and framed Forbes covers proclaiming him the next big thing in finance. He wasn't there, lunch with Lila. Probably. Schmoozing over lobster rolls at Le Bernardin. Perfect. I booted up his computer, the login screen mocking me with its retinal scan. In my old life, I'd watched him punch in the code 100 times, 0-8-1-5. His birth year flipped for luck. Click. Access granted. Files upon files of sanitized spreadsheets, but I knew where to dig. Buried in a folder labeled Legacy Projects was the motherlode, encrypted PDFs of wire transfers, falsified audits, emails between Ethan and a shady fixer named Marco Ruiz. Handle the loose ends. One read. Timestamped 2 weeks before my accident. Loose ends. Me. My pulse thrummed like a bass line in a dive bar, but I forced calm, methodical, like the accountant I'd become. I copied it all to a thumb drive, heart racing as the progress bar inched along. 80%. 90. Done. As I unplugged, the door swung open. Not Ethan, Lila. Tall. Blonde. With cheekbones that could cut glass and eyes like Arctic ice. She froze in the threshold, designer clutch dangling from one manicured hand. Eden? What the hell are you doing in here? Her voice was pure Park Avenue frost, laced with that Vassar education that made every word sound like a verdict. I straightened, thumb drive burning a hole in my pocket. In my original timeline, Lila had been the perfect foil, ambitious, ruthless, the kind of woman who'd marry into power and wield it like a stiletto. She'd adored Ethan, or at least the version he sold her. But I'd seen cracks even then, late-night arguments overheard at family holidays. Her sidelong glances when he got too handsy with the waitstaff. Just borrowing a charger, I lied, flashing my best disarming grin, the one that had gotten me out of more bar tabs than I could count. Ethan said it was cool. She arched a brow, stepping closer, her Louboutins clicking like countdown clocks. Up close, she smelled like Chanel No. 5 and quiet desperation. Ethan's at the club. And you look like shit. What's really going on? There it was, the flicker. Not suspicion. Exactly. But curiosity. The kind that could unravel everything if I played it right. I leaned against the desk, casual as a Sunday drive. Ever wonder why Ethan's so intense about the family business? Like legacy intense. Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't bolt. Hook set. Tell you what, meet me tonight. After the party. Away from the circus. I've got something you'll want to see. I slipped her a napkin with my burner number, procured from a midtown bodega on the way over. Anonymous. Untraceable. Lila pocketed it without a word, her gaze lingering like she was sizing up a rival bidder at Sotheby's. You're playing with fire, Eden. And, in this family, we don't get second chances. She turned on her heel, leaving me with the echo of her warning. If only she knew. The engagement party that night was hail perfection, black-tie tents on the estate lawns, string quartets dueling with a DJ spinning lo-fi house, champagne flutes bubbling like the facade of civility. I showed up in a rented tux that pinched at the shoulders, reminder I was still the kid brother, not the heir. Ethan held court by the oyster bar, Lila on his arm like a trophy, her smile megawatt for the cameras. Dad clapped me on the back, muttering, "Try not to embarrass us, son," before vanishing into a huddle of senators.
Mom.
3 sheets to the wind, pulled me into a waltz, slurring, "You're the sensitive one, Eden. Don't let them grind you down. Sensitive."
Right.
If only she knew the grinder I'd become. As the night wore on, I nursed a scotch, eyes tracking Lila across the crowd. She caught my stare once, twice, subtle nods, like signals in a spy thriller. Ethan, oblivious, boomed laughs at his cronies, recounting some bullshit deal he'd closed. "Eden here's the dreamer," he said, spotting me, slinging an arm around my neck. The crowd chuckled. "Wants to paint pictures while I paint the town red with billions. Family failure." The words hung unspoken, but I felt them like a brand. I shrugged him off, forcing a laugh. "Hey, someone's got to keep the soul in this soulless machine." The group tittered, but Ethan's eyes hardened, just a flash, gone like a glitch. He didn't know yet, but he would. Midnight came, and the party thinned to afterglow stragglers. I slipped out to the gazebo by the pond, the air thick with cricket hum and distant traffic from the Merritt Parkway. Lila arrived 10 minutes later, heels swapped for flats, her gown traded for jeans and a cashmere sweater, Voss practicality peeking through the polish. "This better be good."
Hail.
I ditched a networking goldmine for your cryptic bullshit. I handed her the thumb drive. No preamble. "Plug it into your phone. Then decide if your fiancé's worth the Voss name." She did, brow furrowing as the files loaded. Transfers. Emails. The fixer's name, Marco Ruiz. With a side note I'd added, "Ask Ethan about the loose ends from last summer." Her face drained of color, the screen's glow casting her in blue pallor.
This is fraud.
Felony level. She looked up, eyes searching mine. "How did you get this?" "Doesn't matter. What matters is what you do with it." I stepped closer, the pond's ripple mirroring the storm in her gaze. "Ethan's not just cheating the system, he's cheating you." "The merger? It's a house of cards built on lies. Walk away now, or get buried with it." Lila pocketed the drive, her jaw set like rebar. "You're not the failure they say, are you?" It wasn't a question, more like a revelation. She turned to go, pausing at the edge of the shadows. "If this is real, God, Eden. Why now?" "Because some debts don't wait for an invitation." I watched her vanish into the night, the first domino teetering. Revenge wasn't a sprint, it was a marathon of calculated falls. And Ethan? He was just lacing up his shoes. The next week blurred into a haze of reconnaissance and restraint. My Yale classes a farce I endured like a bad hangover. Psych 101 lectures on cognitive dissonance? Ironic. Considering the dissonance screaming in my skull, every tick of the clock a reminder that this second life was borrowed time. I'd wake at 3 a.m., fists clenched, replaying the crash, tires screeching, Ethan's headlights in the rearview. That final, gurgling plea for mercy he ignored. But mercy was for suckers. I was building a noose, thread by thread, and Lila Voss was the knot. She texted first, burner to burner. No traces. Files verified.
Need to talk.
Neutral ground. Tomorrow. Noon. The High Line. I showed up early, nursing a black coffee from a cart, watching joggers and tourists weave through the elevated park like ants on a vein of green in Manhattan's concrete heart. Lila arrived in oversized sunglasses and a trench coat, looking like she'd stepped off a noir set. No pleasantries. "It's worse than you thought," she said, thrusting a folder at me, printouts from her own digs. Voss lawyers on speed dial. Ethan's not just skimming, he's leveraged the fund against family assets. If it blows, the Hales are done. And the Voss merger? Collateral damage. I flipped through the pages. Bile rising. There it was, my name in an email chain, dated months before the crash. Eden sniffing around. Marco. Make it look clean.
Clean.
Like roadkill scrubbed from asphalt. You confront him yet? She shook her head, wind whipping her hair. Not yet. He's paranoid, canceled 2 meetings this week, claiming gut feelings. But Lila Voss doesn't run from gut feelings, she exploits them. Her smile was sharp, predatory. I'm in. What's the play? We hashed it out over falafel from a truck, street food anonymity. The kind of gritty New York ritual that grounded the conspiracy. Step 1. Isolate. I'd feed her intel on Ethan's routines, his Tuesday spin classes at Equinox, Thursday boozing at the Dead Rabbit. She'd shadow. Document the cracks. Step 2. Amplify. Leak snippets to a journalist contact I'd cultivated in my old life. A dogged Times reporter named Carla Reyes who'd kill for a Hale expose. Step 3. Detonate. At the wedding, 3 months out, when the world's eyes were on them. It's risky, Lila admitted, wiping tahini from her lip. Ethan's got friends in high places, senators,
CEOs.
One wrong move, and we're both roadkill. I met her gaze. Unflinching. He already made me roadkill once. This time, I'm the driver. She nodded. A pact sealed in falafel grease and mutual ruin. As she walked away, blending into the crowd, I felt the first real thrill, not fear, but power. The kind that hums like a V8 engine under your hood. Back at Yale, the facade cracked under pressure. Jake cornered me in the common room. Xbox controller dangling. Dude, you've been a zombie. What's eating you? Girl trouble. I brushed it off with a bro hug. But inside, the isolation nod. Who could I trust? Not mom. Drowning her regrets in Pinot Gris. Not dad. Who'd built the empire on the backs of necessary compromises. Family was the cage, blood the bars. Ethan called that night. Voice all Big Brother bonhomie. Hey. Failure. Skipping Thanksgiving? Mom's on a tear. Laughter. Like we were still kids racing bikes down our driveway. Come on.
Man.
Bring that Yale charm. Lila's asking about you. Lila. The barb twisted. Yeah? Tell her I'm buried in midterms. But hey, congrats again. You two look solid. Solid as quicksand. We chatted bullshit. Football scores. Dad's latest yacht acquisition. Me probing for tells. He slipped once. Business is a beast. Eden. Sometimes you gotta trim the fat.
Trim the fat. Me.
I hung up, stomach churning, and fired off the first leak to Carla, an anonymous tip on the Cayman wires. No names attached. Bait on the hook. The ripples started small. A week later, a Bloomberg blip. Hale fund faces scrutiny over offshore ties. Ethan's response? Fury. He stormed the state that weekend, unannounced. Dad's study shaking with shouts. I lingered in the hallway, ear to the oak door, heart jackhammering. It's nothing. A fishing expedition. Ethan's voice cracked. Rare vulnerability. Dad's rumble. Fix it.
Son.
Or I will. Silence. Then the door flew open, Ethan barreling out, spotting me like a hawk on a mouse.
Eden.
You little shit. You hear something? His hand clamped my shoulder. Vice tight. Breath hot with scotch. Up close. The facade frayed, crow's feet from coke binges. Eyes bloodshot with paranoia. I played dumb. Shrugging. Just grabbing a book?
Bro.
What's the drama? He searched my face. Suspicion coiling like smoke. Stay out of it. For once in your worthless life. Worthless. There it was. The old taunt. Laced with desperation. He shoved past, leaving bruises blooming under my shirt. That night, alone in my old room, posters of Radiohead and Kerouac peeling at the edges, I cracked open the family Bible. Not for salvation, but secrets. Tucked in the pages, Grandpa Hale's letter, the one I'd found in my original life too late. To my sons, the fund was built on a lie. The 28 crash? We didn't lose clean. Embezzled from widows and orphans to rebuild. Don't repeat it. Ethan's blueprint. Inherited rot. I'd shielded him once. As kids, took the fall for his shoplifted Rolex. Let Dad growl me while he skated. Loyalty. Blind and stupid. No more. Lila's next meet was riskier. A rainy Tuesday in a Brooklyn coffee shop. Far from uptown eyes. She slid into the booth. Drenched. Folder in tow. He's spiraling. Hired PIs had my doorman tailed. Photos spilled out. Grainy shots of Ethan at strip clubs. Marco Ruiz in a fedora lurking outside a warehouse in Red Hook. And this, a printout of a prenup clause. Buried deep, Voss assets ring-fenced if material fraud surfaced. He planned to bleed us dry. Rage boiled. Hot and righteous. Then we bleed him first. My voice dropped. Conspiratorial. I've got access to Dad's safe. Combination's my birthday. Ironic as fuck. Inside, the original ledgers. Proof the whole empire's tainted. Stealing them was the controversial call. The one that could torch not just Ethan, but the family I'd bled for. Mom's lifestyle. Dad's legacy. All ash. But justice wasn't clean. It was scorched earth. Lila's eyes gleamed. Conflicted. You're talking arson? Eden. Not just revenge, obliteration. She paused. Rain pattering the window like accusatory fingers. Is that what you want? To be the monster? I leaned in, the coffee bitter on my tongue. He made me the victim.
Now?
I'm the reckoning. She didn't argue. Instead, she kissed my cheek, quick, electric, smelling of rain and resolve. Partners.
Then.
Till the end. The safe heist went down at 2 a.m. Estate silent as a tomb. I ghosted through the halls. Floorboards creaking like guilty confessions. Dad's study. Bourbon decanter half empty. Cigar ash in the tray. Dial turned. 1-2-0-7-89. My birth.
Click.
Inside. Ledgers yellowed with age. Numbers screaming sins from the depression. I snapped photos on my phone. Heart thundering. Then resealed it. No traces. By dawn. The files hit Carla's inbox. Anonymous source. Hail roots in fraud. The story dropped Monday. Front page fodder. Stock dipped 8%. Ethan called. Voice venom. You? This is you. Isn't it? Denial for me. Cool as cucumber. Paranoid much. Bro? Blame the market. But he knew. The text stopped. Invites dried up. Lila went radio silent for days. Then, he's proposing counter-surveillance. Wedding's off if this escalates.
Off.
Music to my ears. But the twist came via Jake. Pounding on my dorm door at midnight. Dude, your brother's downstairs. Looks like hell. Ethan in the quad. Trench coat flapping in the wind. Eyes wild. We need to talk. Off-campus diner. Fluorescent buzz and greasy fries. He slid into the booth.
Defeated.
It's bad. Eden. Really bad. If Dad finds out.
Trail off.
Plea in his eyes. The boy who'd shared comic books. Not the killer. Guilt flickered. Old loyalty tugging. Then come clean. To Lila. To everyone. My words hung. A lifeline or noose. He laughed. Bitter. You think it's that simple? The family's everything. No, you are. I saw it then. The monster I'd become. Mirroring his. But I pushed. Or I will. Threat delivered. He bolted, leaving me with cold eggs and colder resolve. The unraveling accelerated. Voss lawyers circling. SEC whispers. Lila resurfaced at Penn Station.
Urgent.
He's cornered. Blaming you to Dad. Says you're the leak, the failure turning Judas. Let him. The wedding loomed. A powder keg in white lace. 3 weeks to the wedding. And the air in Greenwich crackled like the prelude to a nor'easter, oppressive, inevitable. The estate buzzed with frantic vendors, florists hauling peonies the size of softballs, a string quartet tuning in the solarium, Mom hissing orders at the caterer like a general on D-Day. Perfection?
Darling.
The Vosses expect no less. But beneath the taffeta and caviar, Fisher's spiderwebbed. Dad's migraines doubled. His Scotch intake tripled. He'd taken to pacing the library at odd hours, muttering about Legacy's curse. Ethan? A ghost in his own triumph, hollow-cheeked, popping Adderall like tic-tacs, barking at assistants over speakerphone. Final leak.
Now.
I played my part, the dutiful brother, showing up for tux fittings and cake tastings, all earnest smiles and wouldn't miss it. Bro. Inside. I was a live wire. Every interaction a minefield. Lila and I communicated in code, drops at neutral spots. Like the used bookstore in Darien, where I'd leave annotated Vonnegut paperbacks with USBs tucked in the spines. Her latest. Audio of Ethan and Marco in a parked Escalade. Voices tinny, but damning. The kid brothers pushing too hard. Handle it like last time.
Last time.
My crash. Chills despite the May sun. Carla Reyes was my ace. 3 meetings in shadowy midtown bars. Her chain-smoking skepticism thawing into zeal. This is Pulitzer shit. Hail if you're not bullshitting. I wasn't. The final piece, an interview. Anonymous. Voice distorted. The Hales didn't build America, they bled it. Scheduled for the wedding eve. Time to drop like a guillotine. But revenge is a jealous mistress. And it started whispering doubts. Late nights in the dorm. Jake out cold. I'd stare at the ceiling. Ghosts crowding in. What about Mom? The woman who'd bandaged my knees and dreamed of Broadway for me. Only to watch me fade into Yale's mediocrity. Or Dad. The titan felled by his own son's hubris. Destroying Ethan meant nuking them all. Innocence in the blast radius. The controversial pivot hit during a solo drive up the Taconic. Mercy kill or full scorched. I chose gray. Leak enough to cripple Ethan. Spare the Empire. Surgical. But surgery leaves scars. Lila sensed the waiver at our next drop, a bench in Battery Park. Fairy horns blaring cover. She arrived windswept. Takeout sushi in hand, our ritual. Cheap and intimate. You're hesitating, she said, popping a piece of tuna roll. Gulls wheeled overhead. Scavengers eyeing crumbs. Am I?
Fork in the air.
Evasive. Just. Recalibrating. This could end you too.
Was.
Prenup or not. Scandal sticks. Her laugh was low. Throaty. First real crack in the Ice Queen.
Please.
My family's no saints. Opioid patents in the 90s? We own that guilt. She touched my hand. Brief spark. But Ethan's poison. I see it now. The charm's a mask for sociopathy. You gave me eyes. Eden. Let me return the favor. She slid over a flash drive. Ethan's browser history. Scrubbed but recoverable.
Porn.
Sure. But worse, dark web forums on disappearing problems.
Me?
Marked for erasure. Nausea hit. But so did clarity. No half measures. Wedding day's the endgame. You walk. I expose. Together. Together. Echoed like a vow. Unintended wait. The countdown intensified. Ethan cornered me in the estate garage. Keys jangling like accusations. You're up to something. I can smell it. His breath was stale coffee and fear. Eyes darting to shadows. Rain slicked the driveway. Mirroring that fatal night, flashback hit hard. Vertigo tilting the world. I leaned against the Porsche. Casual. Wedding jitters. Bro? Lila's a catch. Don't fuck it up. Bait taken, he lunged. Pinning me to the hood. Forearm like iron.
Stay.
The fuck.
Out.
Spit flecked my cheek. Veins bulging. For a heartbeat, I saw the killer. Unhinged. Primal. I twisted free. Knee to gut, self-defense. Yale Wrestling Club perk. He wheezed. Doubling. Touch me again. And you're done. Words calm. But the line blurred. Who is the monster now? I left him crumpled. Storm breaking overhead. Thunder applause for the fracture. Mom found out next, over brandy, in the conservatory. Her silk robe askew. Eyes glassy. Your father's crumbling. Eden. The fund. Whispers. She clutched my arm. Manicured nails digging. Ethan says it's rivals. But you know something, don't you? Heart twisted. Tell her? Shatter the delusion?
Mom.
It's bigger than us. Half-truth. Cowards out. She deflated, waving me off. Always the sensitive one. Fix it, darling. For family. Family. The word soured, but it fueled the fire. Lila's bachelorette loomed, a Voss extravaganza in the Hamptons, yacht and bottle service. I crashed the periphery, staking out from a dune buggy rental, binoculars trained on the dock. She emerged at dusk, tipsy bridesmaids in tow, but her laugh rang false. Midnight. She slipped away, text, beach.
Now. The met by the waves.
Salt air thick.
Her bare feet in sand.
He's proposing a post-nup. Ironclad. Thinks I'm blind. Blind no more. I pulled her into the surf's edge. Water lapping ankles, impulse.
Raw.
Our kiss was salt and desperation. Years of buried tension igniting. After this, we vanish. New York ghosts. Starting fresh. She pulled back, eyes searching stars. And the truth? It destroys everything. Not everything. My hand on her waist. Anchor. Us. Dawn broke on wedding week. Chaos reigning. Tuxes tailored. Vows rehearsed. Ethan a zombie in rehearsals. Lila a statue. Rehearsal dinner. Italian villa knockoff in Westchester. Toasts clinking like fragile bones. Dad's speech droned legacy. Mom teared up. Ethan gripped my shoulder too tight. Warning or plea. Proud of you. Little bro.
Lies.
Post-dinner. Lila cornered me in the garden maze. Hedges whispering secrets. Carla's piece drops tomorrow. 6 a.m. SEC tipped. It's over. Her voice trembled. First vulnerability. I love you, Eden. Not him. Never him. Love. The word detonated. Rewriting the script. Then run. Tonight. She shook her head.
No.
We finish it. Together. The night before, insomnia's grip. I drove the back roads. Radio blasting Springsteen, Born to Run. Ironic anthem. Flashback assaulted. The crash. Ethan's whisper. Family failure. No more. Wedding morning dawned brutal, sun mocking the storm. Estate transformed, tents white as surrender. Orchids bleeding color. Guests streamed in, Rockefellers rubbing elbows with tech bros. Paparazzi caged at the gates. I suited up in my room. Mirror reflecting a stranger. Sharp jaw. Haunted eyes. The Avenger. Ethan knocked. Entering without wait. Last chance.
Eden.
Whatever you're planning, stop. Sweat beaded his brow. Ty ask you. We're brothers. Blood. Blood. I laughed.
Cold.
You spilled mine. Confusion flickered. What the? My phone buzzed. Carla's text. Live now. Hell breaking loose. I turned the screen. Headline screaming. Hail fund empire built on decades of deception. Exclusive. His face crumpled. Empire's emperor dethroned.
You.
Rage boiled over. He swung. Fist glancing my jaw. I tasted copper. Old blood. Bastard. I'll kill you. Too late for that. Guests murmured outside.
Chaos cresting.
Lila appeared in the doorway. Veil in hand. Eyes steel. It's done. Ethan. The world's seeing you for what you are. He whirled. Betrayal raw. You? With him? Laughter. Manic. The failure and the gold digger. Perfect. Sirens wailed distant. Cops. The Reaper's choir. Ethan bolted, but the maze of tents trapped him. I followed, Lila's hand in mine, partners to the pyre. The wedding tent was a circus of unraveling silk, guests gawking from linen-draped chairs, smartphones aloft like pitchforks, capturing the Hale implosion in 4K infamy. Ethan staggered through the aisle, bow tie strangled, face a mask of crumbling entitlement. This is a mistake. Lies, all lies. His bellow echoed off the Chuppa knockoff. Rabbis for hire scattering like confetti. Mom swooned into a bridesmaid's arms. Dad frozen at the altar. Bloomberg alerts lighting his phone like fireflies of doom. Lila released my hand, stepping forward, Queen reclaiming her crown. It's over.
Ethan.
The prenup holds. The merger's dead. And you, her voice carried, Arctic clear. You're finished. The crowd gasped. A collective inhale, scandal's oxygen. Ethan lunged, but security Voss muscle, not Hale lackeys, pinned him. Zip ties biting wrists. Eden, you set me up. Spittle flew, eyes wild with the abyss. I stood firm. The brother reborn. No setup. Just truth. The one you murdered to bury. The word, murder, rippled. Guests whispering what? Phones zoomed tighter. Cops swarmed then. Badges flashing under the noon sun. SEC suits in tow with warrants crisp as new bills. Ethan Hale. You're under arrest for fraud, embezzlement, and suspicion of vehicular homicide. Marco Ruiz's name dropped like an anvil. His Red Hook warehouse raided at dawn, coke bricks and ledgers seized. Ethan sagged, fight draining like punctured champagne. It was for the family, he muttered, cuffed and led away. All for us.
Us.
The lie that bound us. Dad approached, face ashen, a hand outstretched, not for a punch, but plea. Son.
Eden.
What have you done? His voice cracked. The Titan humbled. Saved us.
Dad.
From him. From ourselves. I handed him the ledger's physical proof, yellowed indictment. He flipped pages. Empire's sins laid bare. No words. Just a nod, absolution or defeat. Mom. Revived. Clutched my arm. My boy. The strong one. Tears.
Real this time.
The tent emptied in waves, apologies hissed. Exits hasty. Lila lingered. Veil discarded like snakeskin. It's not over. Trials. Fallout. Her eyes. Soft now. Held mine. But we are. Over for them. We slipped away as rain threatened. Estate lawns turning to mud. My car. The same 15 Mustang from dorm days. Idled at the gate. Where to, she asked. Sliding shotgun. Hand on my thigh, anchor in the storm. Anywhere but here. I gunned it. I-95 unspooling south. City skyline shrinking in the rear view. No more crashes. This time, I drove. Months blurred into reconstruction. The Hale Fund restructured under federal watch. Dad retired to a consulting gig in Florida. Mom to therapy and Tuscany wine tours.
Ethan?
Plea deal. 20 years in white-collar purgatory. Upstate facility with Wi-Fi, but no windows. His last letter. Smuggled via a guard. You win, little bro. But blood's thicker. I'll be back. Empty threat. I burned it on the stoop of our new Brooklyn walk-up. Lila's laughter mingling with ash. She stayed. We stayed. Voss Remnants funded a quiet life, her consulting for ethical pharma startups, me finishing Yale online, then a quiet forensic firm in the village. No empires. Just us coffee runs in the village. Sundays at Coney Island. Her head on my shoulder during Knicks games we both hated.
Love.
Earned in the wreckage. But the twist? It came unbidden. 9 months post-wedding. In a Soho clinic's sterile glow. Lila's hand in mine. Ultrasound wand gliding. 2 heartbeats, the tech said, beaming.
Twins.
Hail blood. Voss Steel, new legacy. Untainted. I wept then. First tears since the crash. Not for the dead, but the living. Family failure? I whispered to the ghost of Ethan. Never was. Outside. New York pulsed, horns blaring. Dreams colliding. We'd built from ruins. Controversial choices be damned. Trung Sin wasn't just revenge, it was redemption. And in America's gritty heart. That's the real American dream.